Matthew Stafford officially plans to play football in 2025. What does that mean for the Rams and his future as a Ram? We'll talk about that next on this breaking news edition of the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's up, Rams Nation? Welcome back to this breaking news edition of the Rams Up Podcast here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. Like, subscribe, share this video, share this podcast with all your fellow Rams and football fans. I appreciate it. All my colleagues here on the network appreciate it. And gosh, great news that Stafford wants to play in 2025, as he is someone that needed to be back. Out of all the players who I'm sure we all have plenty in our head of who we want back for a certain price, yada, 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 he was probably number one on, I'd say, all of your lists out there, as the quarterback position clearly being the most important of any football team. It's good to hear that he wants to play. And what would the Rams do without number 9, the Winter Soldier, the Soul Snatcher, Glock 9, whatever nickname you have for him? What would we do in 2025 if he, pulled an Aaron Donald and said, "I'm full, I'm done playing," while he's still playing good? And luckily, we don't have to think of that. But it's all about the money, right? And what is that going to look like after the Rams gave Stafford that de facto 1-year deal where they converted a bunch of guarantees in the 2025 and 2026 years of his contract and squished it into 2024 this past season and said, "Here, 40 million bucks. That's what we're doing for you." And the Rams, if you remember, had a stressful day one of training camp where McVay and other Rams brass were late for their media availability by a good while, 40 minutes, almost an hour, if my memory serves me correctly. And Sean showed up at that looking very stressed. And he said, hey, there was a lot of important, serious, straight up dialogue between the Rams leadership and Matthew Stafford. And luckily, again, they agreed on that 1-year deal. But in that 1-year deal, with still future years left, right, 25 and 26, they were like, hey, we're taking it a year at a time. If you go out there and get hurt and you're not available for this whole season, then you're probably not going to stick around for future years. So why are we going to guarantee more money beyond 24? Or, hey, maybe you don't play well. You're healthy, but you don't play well. And we're like, yeah, we're pulling the plug on this. Thank you, Stafford, for the championship, but you're not going to be back. We don't want you back. Or Stafford retires. All those scenarios were on, the minds of the Rams leadership. So, which is why they said, hey, we're just going to give you this guaranteed deal for 2024. And now here we are in 2025. Luckily, where he played good football. He still is a top 10 quarterback minimum, top 5, depending on who you ask, and wants to play. So these are good problems to have as a Rams organization member and a Rams fan as well, where, hey, he wants to play and he was playing good. Let's figure out the money. But I think it's it's really important is, what is the current money situation look like? So let's pull up a graph here real quick, Rams Nation. If you're tuning on YouTube, thank you very much. You can see this visual. I'm going to slam up here real quick. It is all his salary cap and base salary and some other signing roster options. So what's important here is that in 2025, his cap hit is almost 50 million at 49, 666,667. Almost 50 million. Okay. In 2026, it's going to be pushing 54 million, a little under that. And why are those cap hits so large when his salary and other earnings are so small? Well, in the all-in era of Rams football here with McVay and Les Snead, to create cap space for a certain year that you want to, have money to spend, you convert a player's base salary into bonuses, right? A roster bonus, a signing bonus, a bonus that obviously is legal within the NFLPA rules and whatever the NFL allows. And you convert all that base salary, his normal game checks, into a giant check. Hey, you're on the roster. Here's a 10 million bucks, or here's another 8, or whatever. And doing that frees up the cap space for that certain year. So if you're looking on this graph as a representation of that, you see in 2022 and in 2023, those cap hit numbers were very small, 13.5 million, 20 million. But as you notice, 2024, now that we're in 2025, and then 2026, those numbers are 46, 49, and 53 because of them pushing that money that was supposed to normally count against the cap is now being inflated into the future years, which we are currently in. We are in those future years where now we just have to deal with it. These are the cap numbers, despite him getting paid physically a lot less than 49, 53 million. And let's pull up another little graphic showing what is he actually going to take home into his bank account compared to this 49, almost 50 million buck cap hit in 2025. Well, let's switch to that real quick. So in actual physical dollars, Matthew Stafford is set to make 27 million, and all that is not guaranteed based on what Ian and Rappaport says, based on, again, the deal they did in 2024. So not only is he making less than tons of quarterbacks who are average, below average, and nowhere near as good as Matthew Stafford, right? A Tua, a Daniel Jones who just got cut, a Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, other quarterbacks I'm blanking on, but I'm sure you could think of them, Rams Nation. So not only is he set to make way less than that, 27 million, none of it is guaranteed. None of it, based on the deal they did in 2024. So to Ian Rappaport's point, by I'm sure any other reporter's point about both sides having to come together and figure it out, that is what it is. Matthew Stafford shouldn't be making just 27 million, and he should also not be guaranteed any of it. So that's what the Rams are going to have to figure out. And I believe, Rams Nation, that what's going to end up happening is that's going to be another de facto one-year deal, like it was in this past 2024. They're going to get a bunch of guaranteed money for this one season, right? With the Rams saying, hey, you could get hurt again. You could just straight up not be good, or you could retire next year. We don't want to have to guarantee future years. It's going to be a year-by-year basis for as long as Matthew Stafford wants to play and wants to be a Ram. So yes, there is a scenario, I know, where the Rams could be like, we're trading you away. But again, how does that make sense for the Rams organization? They're basically saying if that happens, if they send Matthew Stafford away with him wanting to play, I mean, they're punting on 2025. And after Kevin Demoff's big letter to season ticket holders saying, hey, don't worry about this, 2024, 2025 is our window. Well, the window would be closed with any other quarterback who's out there, a Darnold, a Jimmy Garoppolo, whoever else you can think of. There's just no shot to win a Lombardi trophy, have another parade here in Los Angeles without the Winter Soldier, Soul Snatcher, Glock 9 Matthew Stafford leading the way. So that's going to be what they're going to have to figure out. And I think they will. But again, I think it'll be another one-year de facto deal like it was in 2024. But if you needed any more, reason to want Matthew Stafford here as a Ram, let's pull up some other quick fun stats via NFL Network. The most passing yards per game in playoff history. Matthew Stafford is number one with 307.9. Who's right under him? And, the top 2, 3, and 4 under him? Hall of Famer, former Rams quarterback Kurt Warner. Hall of Fame quarterback for the Chargers, Dan Fouts. And Hall of Famer, or future Hall of Famer for the Chargers and the Saints, Drew Brees. I mean, Matthew Stafford's producing at such a high level throughout his career and all his playoff appearances. It's ridiculously good. And what's another stat based on recent history, not just totality of his playoff appearances, via ESPN here, the most games with multiple passing touchdowns and 0 INTs in the last 4 playoff tournaments. Patrick Mahomes with 5. Matthew Stafford and Josh Allen right under that, tied with 4. All future Hall of Famers, in my opinion, here. I mean, that is why you pay quarterbacks big money. That is why you want quarterbacks like these guys here. And then the other list I showed you before, playing for your team, because we all know quarterbacks who have been fantastic throughout NFL history in the regular season, but were not as good or weren't clutch at all in the playoff tournament in the postseason. And Luckily, Matthew Stafford is not on the wrong side of lists. He's on the proper right side of history on that. He is clutch. He is productive. He is fantastic when the lights are brightest and everything is on the line. We've seen it time and time again. When he's been a Rams quarterback, he has came through. He has balled out. So again, if you needed another reason to want Matthew Stafford back, just look at what he does in the playoffs. Outside of his toughness, his grit, his IQ, his arm strength, his sidearm throws, all the fun stuff and the stuff that matters, the intangibles. He needs to be back. So again, Rams leadership, Sean McVay, Les Snead, GM, Tony Pastors, who handles all the money and cap breakdown stuff, Kevin Demoff, our team president, and then ownership with Stan Kroenke and his family. Let's figure this out. Don't punt on 2025 and send Matthew Stafford away. Get him back in the damn building and let's go for another Lombardi. I think that sounds like a fantastic plan. But Rams Nation, let me know in the comments. Let us know in our email for any of you who like to send us emails who are on the podcast side of things. What should Matthew Stafford reasonably get? What does he deserve? And for how long? What do you think the Rams and him should come to an agreement with to have a chance to win Lombardis? Hopefully, not just this year, but for future years as well. And let us know in the comments and anyone who has our special email from the podcast side of things. But that'll do it here on this breaking news on the Rams Up podcast. Now, we're got me in. Thanks for tuning in. Again, like, subscribe, share this video and podcast with all your fellow Rams fans. And hopefully next time we talk on a breaking news edition, Matthew Stafford has put pen to paper, inked in a many-year deal, a multi-year deal with the Rams to play football. As long as he's around, we got a chance, Rams Nation. So that'll do it here. And don't forget, baby, go Rams.